The returners. The object appeared on tracking systems worldwide simultaneously, a perfect sphere of impossible smoothness reflecting nothing back to Earth's most powerful radar systems. It decelerated from relativistic speeds with a casual disregard for physics that made the world's leading scientists gape in astonishment. Within hours, it had settled into a stable orbit around Earth, silent and waiting. Admiral Helena Chen stared at the holographic display, showing the object's trajectory. 27 years in the Global Defense Force hadn't prepared her for this. Any response to our communications? Nothing, Admiral, her communications officer replied. We've tried every frequency, format, and language we could think of. Either they can't hear us, or they're choosing not to answer. Chen rubbed her temples. What about the Russians and Chinese? Are they holding position? Yes, Ma'am. All nations are maintaining the agreed safety perimeter, but tensions are rising by the hour. A junior officer rushed into the command center, breathless. Admiral, the object, it's changing. The hologram updated in real time. The sphere was transforming, portions of its surface flowing like mercury to form a new shape. Within minutes, it had reconfigured into a sleek vessel reminiscent of ancient nautical designs, but clearly of technological sophistication beyond anything humanity had achieved. My God, Chen whispered. It's beautiful. Before anyone could respond, every screen in the command center flickered simultaneously. A face appeared, human, yet subtly different. The woman had features that seemed both familiar and alien. Eyes too large and luminescent, skin with a faint pearlescent quality, facial structure more refined than seemed natural. People of Earth, she spoke, her voice melodious and clear. We come in peace. We are your children, returned from the stars. Those 8 words sparked global chaos. In New Delhi, Dr. Vikram Sharma watched the broadcast unfold on his lab's main screen, his colleagues shouting over each other as they tried to process the implications. Unlike most, Vikram felt a strange calm settle over him. They're human, he said quietly, though no one was listening. Evolved, but human. The message continued, broadcasting in every language simultaneously to every device capable of receiving a signal. 3,000 years have passed for us since we left this cradle world. We have traveled among the stars, changed ourselves to survive harsh environments, and created civilizations across 12 star systems. Now we return with urgent purpose. Earth faces a threat unlike any in your history, and we have come to help you prepare. Within 48 hours, a delegation from the vessel had landed at a hastily prepared neutral site in Tanzania. World leaders gathered with unprecedented speed and unusual cooperation. Dr. Sharma found himself unexpectedly summoned as part of the scientific contingent, his work on human genetic adaptability suddenly the most relevant research on the planet. The landing party consisted of 7 beings who called themselves the Returners. Their leader, who introduced herself as Lyra, possessed a quiet dignity that commanded respect. Her companions were as diverse as any human gathering, yet all shared those subtle differences, heightened features, graceful movements too precise to be natural, and an aura of calm capability that made even hardened military leaders uneasy. We understand your suspicion, Lyra addressed the assembled delegates. In your position, we would feel the same. We offer proof of our origins. One of her companions stepped forward, a tall man with dark skin that seemed to shimmer faintly in the sunlight. He raised his hand, and a holographic display materialized before them, showing genetic sequences. Our DNA, he explained in a deep, resonant voice. Despite 3 millennia of adaptation and intentional modification, the basic human genome remains. We are what you will become, given time and necessity. Dr. Sharma leaned forward, transfixed by the displayed sequences. The markers are there, he whispered to his colleague. They're telling the truth. President Okafor of the African Union spoke first among the world leaders. You speak of a threat. What is coming that requires such dramatic intervention? Lyra's expression grew somber. We call them the harvesters. They are not like us, not like you. They do not seek communication or understanding. They consume worlds rich in biosphere and move on. They have destroyed 3 of our colony worlds already. A murmur ran through the assembly. They follow patterns of expansion. Continued another returner, a woman with features suggesting East Asian ancestry, though altered by centuries of evolution. Our models indicate Earth lies directly in their path. They will arrive within 5 years. 5 years. General Martinez of the North American Alliance stood abruptly. If they've destroyed advanced colonies, what chance does Earth have with only 5 years to prepare? Lyra smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. That is why we are here. To help you prepare, but also because you possess something we have lost. Something that may save us all. The revelation stunned the assembly. The advanced humans, with technology that appeared nearly magical, needed something from present-day Earth. What could we possibly have that you need? Asked the European Federation Chancellor. The Seed Vault, Lyra replied, hidden beneath the first human settlement on Mars. Confusion spread through the room. Dr. Sharma felt his heart race. The first Mars mission had indeed established a small outpost, but it had been abandoned after the great economic collapse of 2034. No seed vault had ever been mentioned in any publication he'd read. There is no vault, stated NASA's director flatly. We mapped every centimeter of that outpost. It exists, Lyra insisted, built in secret by a consortium that foresaw humanity's potential extinction events. Within it lies technology that was centuries ahead of its time, created by a genius whose name has been deliberately erased from your histories. Over the following days, the returners shared more details about themselves and the coming threat. They demonstrated abilities that appeared superhuman, enhanced strength, remarkable healing, and most impressively, a form of limited prescience they called temporal sensing. Their technology was equally astonishing, from medical devices that could cure cancer in hours to energy systems that drew power from dimensions modern physics barely theorized. Dr. Sharma found himself assigned as liaison to Elon, the geneticist among the returners. Despite his initial scientific detachment, Vikram found himself drawn to her, not romantically, but with the fascination of finding a counterpart who understood his work on levels he could only dream of reaching. Your research on adaptive gene expression was the foundation of our early colonization efforts, Elon told him as they worked in his lab. In our history, you became one of the pioneers who helped humanity survive the Great Diaspora. Vikram paused, looking up from his microscope. In your history, you speak as though there could be different versions. Elon's smile revealed the subtle bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin, a modification the returners used for nonverbal communication. Time is not as fixed as your physics suggests. Our coming here has already changed potential outcomes. Is that why you've really come back? Vikram asked quietly, not just to warn us about these harvesters, but to change your own history. The question hung in the air between them. Elon's luminescent patterns shifted to patterns Vikram couldn't interpret. We are dying, Vikram, she finally admitted. Our genetic modifications, our evolution, it's reached a dead end. We've become too specialized, too perfectly adapted to environments that are now being destroyed. The harvesters are only part of the threat. The greater danger is our inability to adapt quickly enough to changing conditions. And you think this Mars vault contains what? Some kind of genetic therapy. Better, it contains pure, unmodified human DNA samples and the technology to utilize them. The original creative potential of humanity, preserved before we began to change ourselves. Elon's eyes shimmered with emotion. We need your human adaptability, your imperfection, to save our perfection. The irony wasn't lost on Vikram. Future humanity, with all its advanced evolution, needed the messy, chaotic genetic diversity of its ancestors. Meanwhile, Admiral Chen was conducting her own investigation. The returner's claim about a secret Mars installation seemed far-fetched, yet when she accessed classified historical records using her highest clearance codes, she found disturbing gaps in the documentation of the first Mars mission. Entire weeks of activity were simply missing from the official record. Her unofficial inquiries led her to a retirement community in New Zealand, where Dr. Marcus Webb, the last surviving member of that mission, was living in obscurity. Though 97 years old, his mind remained sharp. "We always wondered if someone would come looking eventually," the old man told her over tea on his porch overlooking the ocean. "They swore us to secrecy, said humanity wasn't ready for what we found." "What did you find, Dr. Webb?" Chen asked. "Not found. Built." His gnarled hands trembled slightly as he sipped his tea. "The official mission was a cover. Half of us were there to establish the public outpost. The other half constructed the vault, deep underground, with technology I still don't fully understand. What's in it? Seeds, like they said, but not plant seeds. The building blocks of humanity. DNA, stem cells, tissue samples from thousands of individuals selected for genetic diversity. And machines that could rewrite genetic code with perfect precision." The old man's eyes grew distant. "They said it was insurance for the species, a reset button, in case we took a wrong evolutionary turn." "Who is they?" Chen pressed. Webb shook his head. "I never knew. We called them the architects. They funded everything through shell companies. I only met their representatives, brilliant scientists who seemed to operate on another level entirely." As Chen reported her findings to the Global Security Council, divisions were forming among Earth's leaders. Some viewed the returners as saviors, others as potential conquerors using the story of the harvesters to manipulate humanity for their own purposes. The tension reached a breaking point when satellites detected a new object entering the solar system, moving at speeds that matched the returners' descriptions of harvester scout ships. This was decades earlier than the returners had predicted. Lyra appeared genuinely shocked when informed. "Impossible," she whispered. "Our calculations, unless—" Her eyes widened. "They followed us. Our temporal wake created a pathway they could sense. You led them straight to us." General Martinez's voice rose in accusation. "Not intentionally," Lyra responded, her composure cracking for the first time. "But yes, it appears our arrival has accelerated the timeline." In a private meeting with Earth's Leadership Council, Lyra finally revealed the full truth of their mission. "We came seeking the vault because of a legend, a story passed down through generations. It was said that Earth's early space pioneers created a repository containing not just genetic material, but an artificial intelligence designed to manage humanity's evolution. A guardian program that could repair genetic damage and reverse harmful mutations." "You came all this way for a legend?" President Okafor asked incredulously. "We came because we had no choice," Lyra replied, her voice heavy with emotion. "Our children are being born sterile. Each generation, fewer of us can reproduce naturally. The genetic modifications that let us colonize harsh worlds are now killing us slowly as a species. We have perhaps 2 more generations before extinction." The revelation changed everything. The returners weren't just warning present-day humanity about a threat. They were desperate refugees seeking salvation from their own evolutionary dead end. Dr. Sharma, working through the night with Elon, made a breakthrough in correlating the returners' genetic modifications with the theoretical limits his own research had predicted. "It's fascinating," he told her as dawn broke. "Your ancestors solved problems I've only begun to identify, but they created new problems in the process. The fundamental paradox of directed evolution," Elon agreed. "Each adaptation optimizes for current conditions, but potentially reduces adaptability to future changes." Their moment of scientific communion was interrupted by an urgent summons. The Harvester scout ship had accelerated dramatically. It would reach Earth within days, not weeks as initially calculated. As global military forces mobilize, Admiral Chen made the decision that would change humanity's course forever. "We're going to Mars," she announced to a stunned Security Council. "We'll find this vault and access whatever technology it contains, for our sake and for our descendants." Lyra nodded solemnly. "Time has compressed around us. Both our futures now depend on what we do in the coming days." Dr. Sharma found himself assigned to the hastily assembled mission team, along with Elin and 2 other returners. As they prepared to depart in a vessel that combined current human technology with returner enhancements, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity stood at its most crucial turning point since leaving the African savanna hundreds of thousands of years ago. "Are we making a mistake?" he asked Elin as they boarded, "playing with forces we don't understand?" She touched his arm, her skin cool and slightly textured against his. "The mistake would be believing we are separate journeys. We are one human story, Vikram, past, present, and future bound together. Whatever comes next, we face it as one species." As Earth shrank behind them and Mars grew before them, the first transmissions arrived of the harvester ship deploying smaller vessels. The race for humanity's future had begun. The hidden strength. The journey to Mars took 36 hours using the hybrid propulsion system the returners had helped engineer. Dr. Vikram Sharma spent most of the time in the ship's laboratory with Elin, studying the genetic samples she had brought, living proof of humanity's evolutionary journey. Admiral Chen commanded the mission, her military bearing never faltering despite the extraordinary circumstances. "We'll be entering Mars orbit in 20 minutes, the pilot announced, preparing descent trajectory to Eris Prime Base. The abandoned first settlement appeared on their screens, a collection of domes and tunnels, untouched for decades. Dust storms had partially buried some structures, but the main habitat remained remarkably intact in the planet's preservative cold. "The entrance to the vault isn't in any of those buildings," said Kalen, another of the returners. "According to our histories, it was hidden beneath what your people called the greenhouse module." Chen frowned. "That section collapsed during the evacuation. Precisely why it was chosen," Kalen replied. "The collapse was engineered to conceal the access point. Their landing was textbook perfect, the vessel settling on the rusty plain 300 meters from the abandoned base. They donned Mars-rated suits, the returners insisting on using the same equipment as the humans despite having adaptations that might have allowed them to survive the thin Martian atmosphere. "We succeed or fail together," Lyra had said before staying behind on Earth to coordinate defenses against the approaching harvesters. The trek across the rust-colored surface was surreal. Dr. Sharma felt the weight of history with each step, both the history behind them and the potential futures ahead. The abandoned base loomed before them, a monument to humanity's earlier ambitions, now forgotten as Earth had turned inward during decades of climate crisis and political instability. Inside the derelict greenhouse module, the evidence of deliberate design became clear. What appeared to be random structural collapse from outside was, from within, an obvious concealed entry point. Beneath displaced panels and strategically arranged debris, they found a sealed hatch with an archaic but sophisticated locking mechanism. "Recognition patterns," Admiral Chen said, examining the lock. "Biometric, but not standard. The locks would have been keyed to the architects." Mira, the third returner in their party, suggested. "Our historical records weren't clear on their identities." Dr. Sharma knelt by the lock, studying its design. "This isn't just checking fingerprints or retinal patterns," he said. "The sensor array is more complex. It might be reading deeper biological markers, DNA methylation patterns, perhaps." "Can we bypass it?" Chen asked. Before anyone could answer, the lock emitted a soft tone. Green lights flickered across its surface, and the heavy hatch began to unlock itself with a series of metallic clicks. "It recognized someone," Ellen said, looking around at their group in confusion. All eyes turned to Dr. Sharma, who appeared equally baffled. "I didn't do anything." "Perhaps you didn't need to," Mira said softly. "The lock may be programmed to recognize genetic patterns, not specific individuals. If the architects planned for a distant future, the implications hung in the air. Had the mysterious creators of the vault somehow anticipated that their facility might need to be accessed generations later by descendants with similar genetic markers? The hatch opened to reveal a vertical shaft with a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Emergency lighting flickered to life as they entered, illuminating a path downward. "Our communications will be limited once we're inside," Admiral Chen warned, checking her equipment. "We'll maintain contact as long as possible, but be prepared for isolation." The facility below exceeded all expectations. As they descended deeper, they entered a vast chamber that clearly employed technology decades beyond what had been publicly available during the time of its construction. Sleek consoles lined the walls, and at the center stood a cylindrical structure the height of 3 men, pulsing with a soft blue light. "The cradle," whispered Elin, her voice filled with reverence. "It's real." "What exactly are we looking at?" Chen demanded. "A genetic repository and recombination system," Dr. Sharma replied, moving closer to examine the technology. "But it's far more advanced than anything I've ever seen. This shouldn't have been possible 70 years ago. Unless the architects had help," Mira suggested, "or came from somewhere else themselves." They explored the facility methodically, discovering storage banks containing millions of perfectly preserved human genetic samples, advanced computing systems in hibernation mode, and laboratories that would have made the most cutting-edge research institutions on Earth green with envy. In one room, they found historical records, actual physical books alongside digital archives. Dr. Sharma began examining these while Admiral Chen and the returners continued exploring the technical systems. "Listen to this," he called to the others after an hour of reading. Project Continuity was established with the recognition that humanity's path forward contains inherent contradictions. Advancement requires specialization, yet specialization inevitably leads to vulnerability. This repository represents our insurance against evolutionary dead ends. "They foresaw our problem," Ilan said, joining him to examine the documents. "Centuries before it happened." "There's more," Sharma continued. "The Guardian Protocol is designed to activate only when presented with evidence of critical evolutionary divergence. It will recognize the genetic signatures of those who come seeking salvation and respond accordingly." A deep hum began to emanate from the central chamber, startling them all. The cylindrical cradle was activating, its blue light intensifying. "I believe we've been scanned," Mira observed. "The system has recognized the genetic divergence between us and you." They gathered in the central chamber as holographic displays materialized around the cradle. Complex genetic sequences appeared, alongside what looked like evolutionary trees and projection models. "Guardian Protocol initiated," announced a synthetic voice that nonetheless carried remarkably human inflections. "Divergent human lineages detected. Analyzing temporal separation and adaptation patterns." "Is it alive?" Chen asked, hand instinctively moving toward her sidearm. "Not alive," Callan replied, "but sentient in its way. An artificial intelligence dedicated to a single purpose, preserving human genetic viability." The displays shifted to show detailed analyses of the returners' genetic structures, highlighting modifications, adaptations, and critically, the accumulated errors and limitations that were driving them toward extinction. "Critical evolutionary divergence confirmed," the Guardian announced. "Terminal genetic pathway detected in advanced human lineage. Recombination solutions available." Mira's eyes widened. "It's saying it can fix us." "Caution," the Guardian continued. "Proposed recombination requires genetic material from both lineages. Standard human genome provides necessary baseline diversity. Advanced human genome provides beneficial adaptations. Combined approach optimal. It wants to merge our genetic lines," Dr. Sharma realized. "Not just repair your genetics with our diversity, but potentially improve our baseline human genome with your successful adaptations." "A new human synthesis," Elon whispered. "Neither entirely us nor entirely you, but preserving the best of both. Admiral Chen frowned. That's a decision beyond our authority. This affects all of humanity, present and future. Time constraints detected. The Guardian interrupted, displaying a new set of data. Threat analysis indicates immediate action required for optimal survival probability. The system had somehow detected the approaching harvester threat. Screens showed the alien vessels now entering Earth orbit, with projections of possible attack scenarios and survival probabilities. How does it know about the harvesters? Chen demanded. The Guardian was designed to identify any existential threat to human continuity, Callan explained, studying the displays. It must have ways of gathering external data we don't understand. And then what? Chen asked. Our ship contains genetic recombination equipment, Callan explained. Basic compared to this facility, but if we can transfer the Guardian's protocols, we could begin implementing solutions immediately, Elon finished. But not for everyone. The process would be limited to those we could treat directly. A prototype, Dr. Sharma nodded. A proof of concept that might convince others. While Mira and Callan worked to establish a connection with their orbiting vessel, Sharma and Elon continued to interact with the Guardian system, probing its knowledge and capabilities. What they discovered astonished them. The architects weren't just forward-thinking scientists. Sharma told Admiral Chen. According to these records, they had access to predictive models we still don't understand. They didn't just guess that humanity might face these challenges. They calculated it with remarkable precision. Who were they? Chen pressed. The records are deliberately vague, Ellen said, scanning through files. But there are references to extratemporal insights and convergent human potential. It's almost as if they had help from the future themselves. Sharma finished. A previous iteration of what we're doing right now. The Guardian system suddenly shifted its displays, showing a new analysis. Viable solution protocol identified. Genetic recombination template prepared. Warning. Implementation requires synergistic biological interface. What does that mean? Chen asked. Elon's expression grew solemn. It means the process needs living participants, volunteers willing to be the first to undergo the genetic recombination. The risk, Chen began, is necessary, Dr. Sharma interrupted. And I volunteer. The room fell silent as everyone turned to him. Vikram, no, Elon protested. We don't know the full effects. The Guardian does, he replied calmly. It was designed for exactly this purpose. And logically, we need one participant from each genetic line. He looked directly at Elon. It should be you and me. We understand the science better than anyone else here. Elon held his gaze for a long moment before nodding slowly. Yes, it should be us. Meanwhile, the transmission to their orbiting vessel succeeded. Mira confirmed that the Guardian's protocols were being uploaded and that the ship's systems were integrating them successfully. If Sharma and Elon's procedure worked, the solution could be implemented for others immediately. The preparation was swift but thorough. Sharma and Elon were placed in adjacent chambers within the cradle system, connected to monitoring equipment and surrounded by technology that operated on principles still beyond full human understanding. The process will be uncomfortable but not painful, the Guardian informed them. Cellular restructuring will occur gradually over 72 hours. Primary consciousness will be maintained throughout. Admiral Chen stood at the control panel with Mira and Callan. Are you certain about this? She asked one final time. Dr. Sharma nodded from within his chamber. Absolutely. This is why we're here. Beginning synergistic recombination, the Guardian announced. The chambers filled with a luminescent mist, obscuring the occupants from view. What followed was a race against time. As Sharma and Elon underwent their transformation, Admiral Chen established a direct link with Earth's Defense Command. Lyra reported that the harvesters had completed their survey ahead of schedule and were positioning extraction equipment around the planet. The returners' vessels are engaging them, Lyra reported, but we're outnumbered. Earth's military forces are coordinating with us, but their weapons are largely ineffective against harvester shields. Hold them off, Chen ordered. We have a potential solution in progress. The 72-hour timeline suddenly compressed when the Guardian announced, external threat detected. Accelerated protocol implementation now viable. Warning, increased discomfort for participants. Within the chambers, Sharma and Elin endured waves of sensation as their bodies were reshaped at the cellular level. Neither experienced actual pain, but the feeling of being unmade and reconstituted tested the limits of human endurance. Their consciousness expanded in unexpected ways, connecting them not just to each other, but to something larger. A sense of humanity's potential stretching across time and space. 24 hours after the procedure began, the chambers opened. Dr. Sharma and Elin emerged, visibly changed. They stood taller, moved with fluid grace, and their eyes held a depth of awareness that hadn't been there before. Yet, unlike the other returners, they lacked the sense of specialized adaptation, instead embodying a perfect balance between present human resilience and future human potential. It worked. Mira breathed, examining their biometric readings. The Guardian has created a new stable genetic template that preserves adaptability while incorporating advanced capabilities. How do you feel? Chen asked cautiously. Sharma smiled, the expression both familiar and somehow new. Connected, he replied. To myself, to Elin, to humanity's past and future. It's difficult to describe. We need to implement this on a larger scale immediately, Elin added, her voice carrying new harmonics. The template can be transmitted to the orbiting vessel, and from there to Earth. Not everyone will want this change, Chen pointed out. They won't need to choose immediately, Sharma assured her. The template can be preserved, implemented gradually. What matters is that it exists, a path forward that preserves what makes us human while allowing us to evolve beyond current limitations. They returned to their vessel and launched toward Earth, where the situation had deteriorated. The harvesters had begun extraction processes in several locations, their massive ships deploying equipment that literally pulled biological matter from the planet's surface in swirling columns of energy. The returners' vessels fought valiantly alongside Earth's military forces, but they were losing ground rapidly. Then, as Sharma and Elin's vessel re-entered Earth orbit, something unexpected happened. The genetic template they carried, now broadcasting from their ship's systems, began affecting the harvester technology in unforeseen ways. The extraction equipment faltered and failed, unable to process the newly emerging human genetic pattern. The harvester's technology is designed to categorize and extract biological material based on recognizable patterns, Elin explained as they watched from orbit. Our new template exists outside their classification systems. It's confusing their extraction protocols. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it bought precious time. As the template was transmitted to Earth's defense facilities and quickly implemented for volunteer defense forces, the tide began to turn. The first wave of transformed humans exhibited capabilities similar to Sharma and Elin. Enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and a heightened awareness that allowed them to coordinate efforts with unprecedented efficiency. The harvesters, facing unexpected resistance, withdrew to regroup and reassess. It wasn't a definitive victory, but a critical reprieve. In the aftermath, world leaders gathered once more to meet with Lyra and the other returners. The presence of Sharma and Elin, now living proof of humanity's potential future, changed the dynamic completely. We propose a covenant, Lyra announced, not between present and future humans, but between all branches of humanity. The Guardian Protocol provides a path forward that preserves our essential nature while allowing beneficial adaptation. A covenant across time, President Okafor mused. An agreement with our own descendants. The harvesters will return, Admiral Chen warned. This was only their first incursion. And we'll be ready, Dr. Sharma replied. Not by becoming something other than human, but by embracing the full spectrum of what humanity can be. The decision was made to establish permanent installations on Mars, Earth, and the returners' primary colony world. These would serve as repositories for the Guardian Protocol and centers for ongoing genetic harmonization. The process would be voluntary, implemented gradually over generations rather than forced upon an unwilling population. In the months that followed, Sharma and Elon became the bridge between humanity's present and future. They worked tirelessly to refine the protocol, ensuring that it preserved the diversity and adaptability that made humans uniquely resilient while incorporating the beneficial aspects of future evolution. The returners who had once faced extinction found new hope in this blended future. Many chose to remain on Earth, contributing their knowledge while experiencing the vibrant diversity of their ancestral home, qualities their specialized evolution had sacrificed. 1 year after the Mars expedition, Dr. Sharma stood with Elon on a hilltop overlooking a valley where a new city was being constructed, the first settlement designed from the ground up to accommodate both present humans and returners, with technology that blended the best of both worlds. "Do you ever regret your decision?" Elon asked him, her hand finding his as they watched workers and machines moving below. Sharma considered the question carefully. "No," he finally answered. "I miss certain aspects of who I was, but I've gained so much more. Understanding, perspective, hope." The architects knew, Elon said softly. Somehow, they knew this moment would come, that humanity would need to find its way back to itself. "Perhaps they were us," Sharma suggested, "or some version of us reaching across time to ensure our survival." The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the valley. In orbit above them, the Guardian Protocol continued its work, monitoring and preserving the genetic legacy of a species that had proven more resilient than anyone could have imagined. Not through perfect adaptation or overwhelming force, but through something uniquely human, the ability to learn, to change, and to recognize itself across the vast distances of time and space. As darkness fell, lights came on in the valley below. Not just electric illumination, but the subtle bioluminescence of returners working alongside their human ancestors. Different branches of the same tree, finally reconnected. "We found our way home," Elon said. "All of us," Sharma agreed. Past, present, and future. Together, they turned and walked toward the new city, two embodiments of humanity's endless potential, and the living proof that evolution's greatest strength lies not in perfection, but in the courage to remain adaptable in the face of an ever-changing universe. The end.